Years ago, on the darkest shores, a brave troll fell in battle, facing an ancient enemy. But his tale did not end there. The Loa had plans, and justice had the loudest cry of all. Today, I will lay bare the path that Blizzard has set in stone for the grand return of Vol'jin, and how his legacy as Loa will be decided in midnight. Grab the closest flask of mojo and buckle up.
There may be mild spoilers ahead.
Vol'jin, son of Sen'jin, struck down by a demon, deceived by a whisper, and doomed the Horde by naming Sylvanas war chief. But the spirits do not see things this way, for Darkspear never die, and Vol'jin's greatest trial lay yet before him. Vol'jin lived not for power, but for his people. He stood beside Thrall, bled for the Darkspear in the face of injustice, and guided the Horde with cunning and wisdom. He was the voice of reason when pride ran wild, and the heart of bravery when the Horde lost its way. Vol'jin defied the great Zandalari Empire and dared to challenge tyrants like Zul, Garrosh, and even Muzala. For he was more than a chieftain, he was a shadow hunter. He learned the ways of the Loa, the sacrifices and honor that they demanded. In Pandaria, Vol'jin stood witness to the judgment of the August Celestials as they weighed justice against the war crimes of Garrosh Hellscream. But justice doesn't always come for the just of heart, and when death finally came for old Vol'jin, it did not come clean. The greatest injustice of our time is the fall of a chieftain before his own rise. Fell poison in his veins, Vol'jin passed beyond this world, and you, hero, took his ashes to Zandalar, to Ataldazar, to rest with kings. But his soul was missing. Vol'jin had been pulled back from the other side, lingering in a limbo. And when his spirit reached out, he longed for one thing above all.
So much loss, so many without guidance, so many without justice.
It was then that we aided Vol'jin, Talanji, and Bane Bloodhoof in inquiring who exactly had swept away Vol'jin's soul, and if it was the same nefarious whisperer who bid him to name Sylvanas as war chief. To our surprise, the Valkyr queen, Aegir, informs us that Vol'jin's soul was touched by the hand of Valor. That this was a power beyond her ability to forge, and that such a noble force does not scheme for mortal thrones. But that was all the knowledge she was willing to share. Fast forward to Shadowlands, and after time in Bwamsamdi's care, Vol'jin's spirit was called upon to confront Muzala, the Loa of Death, who whispered poison into Vol'jin's ear. And with Vol'jin's help, Bwamsamdi subdued the wicked Muzala. It was then that our fallen chieftain was tasked with rescuing the spirits of wild gods who were unjustly sent and lost within the Maw, and returning them to the Winter Queen in Ardenweld. As he did so, Vol'jin recalled his mortal life, saying,
All me training as a shadow hunter be leading to this moment, tracking a spirit inside the Maw and saving them from eternal torture.
But not all could be saved. For the Loa, Rizan, King of Kings, sacrificed himself, passing his light into Vol'jin so that another hope might rise.
Oh, Rizan, we're gonna take you out of here. Get your strength back. Vol'jin of the Darkspear, your soul is fierce. You seek justice. The last glimmer Shadowhunter. Our people, they be needing you. You are the one they need.
Rizan gave up his rebirth so that Vol'jin could carry the flame. And when his hunt was done, Vol'jin stood before the Winter Queen.
Intriguing, a mortal soul entwined with the essence of a Loa. I cannot say what fate will befall you, Vol'jin of the Dark Spear, but I offer you this chance to one day be reborn anew.
Vol'jin humbly accepted, entering the Wildseed in Ardenweld, and began his transformation. This was the last time that we saw Vol'jin, and before we get into where he comes up next, we have some unanswered questions. So, who did touch Vol'jin with the hand of Valor? The answer is still unknown. Some say it was Rizan himself, the Loa of Kings, who later gave up his light to Vol'jin. But remember, Aegir claimed such a power would not scheme for kings and queens of mortal thrones, and that Vol'jin had been touched by a power beyond even her ability to forge. Some think it's Azeroth herself, but one thing is for certain. Whoever reached out to Vol'jin to save him from damnation saw a great destiny in the fallen chieftain. And the clues of his savior might just lie in his current location, Ardenweald. You see, Vol'jin is not the only soul we know of to be saved this way. In Legion, we saw Ysera, the green dragon aspect, fall to corruption, and her goddess, Elune, somehow intervened, bypassing Ysera's soul to Ardenweald. Vol'jin too now rests in these celestial gardens, and though her name was never spoken, I believe the fate of Vol'jin may have been decided by none other than the goddess of eternal starlight. For another warrior fell on the very same day, Varian Rin, dubbed Logosh by the orcs, who was the favored mortal of Goldrin, the great wolf, the wild god of ferocity and valor, and Varian was his chosen. Goldrin was a servant of Elune, but a reckless one, wild and untamed. He saw in Varian something he lacked in himself, the restraint and nobility to wield power without savagery. When Varian fell, Goldrin mourned and vanished into contemplation. But what if, on that day, on the broken shore, he saw another valorous soul burning bright? What if Goldrin beheld Vol'jin's final stand and recognized his noble heart? Perhaps it was not just Elune who acted alone, but Goldrin who nudged her to save his soul. A soul worthy enough of teaching a wild god how to change. Whether it was Goldrin, Rizan, Elune, Azeroth, or some ancient will yet unnamed, Vol'jin was saved for a reason. Why? What fate specifically did this mysterious benefactor foresee for Vol'jin of the Dark Spear? This, my friends, is where it gets heavy. For even the wise Vol'jin's legacy is not without shadows. In life, Vol'jin made a choice that haunts him still. The betrayal and abandonment of the great troll leader, Zul'jin. Zul'jin was a Mani, a fierce warrior, a relic of a blood-soaked age, haunted by human dominance. But he never bowed to elven tyranny. He never betrayed his own kind, no. Zul'jin fought for the justice of his people to his dying breath. And Vol'jin loyal to the elf-ridden horde, stood aside, condemning Zul'jin to a fate he never deserved. Rather than rest with the Amani, Zul'jin's spirit was unjustly cast into Revendreth, a nightmarish realm of atonement and absolution for the sinful and wicked. You see, even the previous Ranger General of Silvermoon, Sylvanas Windrunner, in seeing Zul'jin's punishment within the Afterlife, thought that the torment inflicted upon him was indeed unjustly cruel. We players encounter Zul'jin's tormented soul in Revendreth, who seems to have escaped his captors for now. And though he died by our hand, Vol'jin's silence allowed it. Though we remember Vol'jin as a troll who fought for honor, the skeletons in his closet are bathed with Amani blood. And it is in this great injustice that Vol'jin's greatest trial begins. Zul'aman stirs, and perhaps Zul'jin's freed spirit waits in anger. In the place where blood was spilled, Vol'jin will confront Zul'jin's legacy, promising the Amani that as Loa, he will strive to free the souls of trollkind from unjust fates. Not just the Dark Spear, but all tribes. To truly become the Loa he's fated to be, Vol'jin must face the greatest injustice he inflicted in life. And by reckoning with Zul'jan, perhaps he can finally bring justice to the Amani tribe and help fold their people back into the circle of trollkind. Only then can Vol'jin rise as more than a shadow hunter. He will rise as the Loa of Justice, fated to bring an end to the rule of order. Now, we've talked about what it's all been leading to, who touched Vol'jin with the hand of Valor, and why this arc has been destined for him from the start. But the question remains, how? Vol'jin's ashes still remain on Azeroth, unscattered, unburied, just waiting in that urn that we took to Zandalar and used to commune with him. Bwamsamdi stopped the final rites, because Vol'jin's story wasn't over, and perhaps his urn will yet serve as the vessel for his return. Back during the announcement of Battle for Azeroth, we were teased that Thrall would take Vol'jin's urn to Zandalar himself, a plot we saw changed and realized with Gadrin, Talanji, and ourselves. But what if it's not too late to see this teased thread continue? Thrall, our favorite ex-world shaman who has been all but absent from the war within, must play a role in quel'thalas and the Horde's history with the Amani during Midnight. And I feel that the odds are stacked for Owena and Thrall to team up in zul'aman. For Vol'jin's soul was last seen entering a Wildseed in Ardenweald, and we've never learned exactly how or where wild gods are reborn after their rest. But bear with me, I think we will. This war within has introduced us to the Haranir, a mystical race of druidic folk who tend to the roots of Elune here, and hail from a sacred place that they call the Cradle. And I believe that this so-called cradle just may be where the wild gods are reborn. A reflection of the celestial gardens in Ardenweald remanifested in the Emerald Dream. A flip of the coin and transfer of soul to be reborn in reality. Where once there was a seed in Ardenweald, there is now a seed in the dream. And our friend among them, Owena, will play a part in Vol'jin's return through his Wildseed. Here is the closing prediction. Accompanied by Thrall, we will unknowingly take what is Vol'jin's Wildseed, delivered to us by Owena, to zul'aman, to the deep forests there where the gods of the wild roam, the bidding she heard from the goddess. In our quest, like he often does, Bwamsamdi will appear to us, presenting Thrall with the urn containing the ashes of Vol'jin, and urging us to finalize his long-awaited rebirth. At a place of spiritual power, Thrall will set the urn, and you, hero, will plant the Wildseed within the ashes of Vol'jin, and witness his grand return. A valor-forged phylactery, blessed by spring and winter alike, for the Loa of Justice to rise. Vol'jin's great story enters its new chapter, and Warcraft regains one of its most iconic, loved characters. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. My name is xaxxas, and if you've enjoyed this theory and breakdown of Vol'jin's arc, please drop a comment, let me know what you think. Will we get Amani allied races this way? Or troll paladins? Food for thought. Until next time, may the light of truth, justice, and freedom ever guide you. And remember, Dark Spear never die.